Hello, this is Gerald Wilhelmus. This is the third part of Eat and Drink Words. I should never forget to give enough context before giving a conclusion, otherwise, it would be confusing and people still not used to, of course, what I'm saying. Where does that come from? And of course, you will not notice these things yourself immediately if I don't say where to look at. And of course, with eat and drink, also there, I have to have some context as well. And I have to give you an idea where it comes from, my conclusions, before just providing conclusion and you don't even know where they come from. This can't work for new, let's say, newbies and so on into this theory. The theory that I'm talking about is that letters are like trigger points to go to the right direction where you have to go to realize the content of the word, to realize what kind of direction you should take, what you should give attention to, and all these kind of things. They are quite remarkable, correct, how they are described with these letters and so on. And it works simply because that's the way how we can also remember these words very well. They are logic, the system is logic, the order is logic, so it's not so confusing that we are losing time to remember all these things. No, they are remembered easily because they also fit with what we need to focus upon. It's all about focus, and at this time I will focus mainly upon these focuses, but I have to explain them. How does this triggering attention works? I will explain that further with the first word that I started with it in this series of eating and drinking words, and that was the word eat. But before that, I have to go again to the underlying theory that is there. The underlying theory was actually once based upon the order of letters that I found into a method which was called the Pythagorean order of letters, with the numerical order of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 in 9 letters. And I was investigating how much this would fit with actually the elements that are described with these letters, if they would fit, if they would really fit in that way. It was a long investigation to find out if that was really helpful or not, but I found out that if you translate that into a geometrical order which needs space and time, then it would actually fit if you would actually use also dimensions and also the differences. It's not just A, T, and K are all one. No, it's just like the string theory. And the Pythagorean school was mostly about music and strings and so on, and the strings with the vibrations, which ones work and which one does not work, which one vibrate and towards other vibrations. This was a whole school which was a bit legendary, and not much is left from what they did because it was all quite secretive, or all done in secret. But when I looked into these letters and saw how much is it already fitting to what I already knew with what I was investigating, how much letters were related with the forms that they are expressing, more and more I developed also this kind of synesthesia to translate it immediately. It was like a puzzle. And why didn't it work before? Because all the investigators didn't give enough time, and they saw that there were a few elements that were similar a lot of times, but then in other words they were completely different. So they said, okay, there's no real meaning in letters, but yes, there is when you use the puzzle correctly, because it's a puzzle like one thing influences the other. And so what basis do you need to use to make that work? That if the first element changes the second one, how can it change? What is steady and what is not steady, and what can change, and so on. And so I've developed this method that you can see that what is really changing, how these letters are changing each other. And there are several layers that you can investigate. One of them is the geometrical one. So, and basically I call it the 1, 2, 3 rule, because that's the basic foundation, just like you have in computers, the zeros and the ones. Here you have three options how to learn actually automatically what you need, how you need to adapt it. So it's not sure, it's yes and no. It's that uncertainty principle which makes you choose actually in the correct way to the next option. And this uncertainty should give you should lead you to the next order, or the next available order that is most logic. And that system is worked out. It's all with dimensions as well, 1, 2, 3 dimensions. And actually the first 3 times 3 letters fit to the three-dimensional spatial world of descriptions, and with the certain uncertainty principles, which I'm not going to describe now, but they work like that as well. So the 1, 2, 3 dimensions are available as focuses towards that space. Once the situation is that you cannot use a really fixed point somewhere as a focus, but it's moving, or there are two options, when there are really two options available, then you have to find out, yeah, but which one of these options do I need to follow? So I'm going to follow it up, I'm going to follow the changes, and so on. And this logic goes towards timing, and that's the next level. So you have then all the things that are about directions and timing, and then you even have a last option there, when you can't find a steady point in space, when you can't find a steady direction, then you have to find out, okay, but what's my where can I focus upon, at least if it's already something that I can make a definition within a certain frame, even if it's continuous, that I don't see the beginning and the ending, hence the direction that I can't find, I can still find within this frame what is going on there. So that's the way how the logic builds up in the automatic finding of references. What is now the reference between the letters? The letters are also triggered by the system of recognition and automatically, and it translates actually what you hear into something which you could also see or notice. It's a kind of synesthesia which is not very well developed in our mind, that we use this in a conscious way, but it works unconscious because it uses this automated system. Just go to the right direction, see what you need to see, just like you see colors, that you see directions automatically, that you don't even have to understand everything, but you do it correctly. But you can learn to make this conscious, this synesthesia of hearing and noticing or seeing, that how they work together, that they make an understanding, that you see how well it actually fit. And that's Materia is about, is that make that available, that you can see what is really happening there. And as a kind of proof as well, you can also see that what you can see in what you can hear as frequencies also have these features. So and the way how we interpret them is also fitting with that balance out of, yes, I am the speaker and you are the one who has a different opinion, also or sees it differently, or it is somewhere else. Also there you need this timing or comparison aspect, and the learning aspect can be followed there as well, how we interpret things down there when we deal with changes, or when we deal with simply with the reality that there is and that has an effect upon us. There's also that logic of learning. In language, it's also about learning. You have an opinion first, or you have a vision first already, what you notice, and you say that these are the things that you describe. Sometimes you have to adapt, so you notice also what is different. Also the other persons notice by the usage of how you describe it. Okay, that's how well someone is following the things already. And then the reality, of course, also the last category will also give you a feedback process of where is really the point of reference that we both can see, that we both are adapting to, no matter if there is a steady choice of a placement or a path that we are following. So no matter of that, there are no time and space directions of choice. This is just the thing how it is. These three levels can be explained in many ways, and there's too much to say. But anyhow, I will use an example to show you how we hear these things, and how we can see these frequencies and what kind of frequencies these are, and how we associate them automatically. In the word eat, how we hear that, eat, how we see that written, it gives you a clue what you have to notice actually, and it goes automatically, but it works. So let's first start with this E. So we have this, so I, as a speaker for instance, I will just say E, and that can be noticed. What is the reference frame of E? Of course, E is about the last category, and it is also about the category that we have to pay attention to. Where is the context then? So we have to look for the context. And when I make a video where I already left out the context, how we look for context, so that's missing. Of course, I have to have a third part of this video to explain that, how that works. So in the sounds that you hear, the basic sounds are also, all the sounds, the first 9 sounds or letters, are about very short sounds like t and k and b, l, very short, and you also have a very short notice of them. So immediately in the moment of now, actually, not more, there's no need for timing. You know immediately what it is, where it is, and so on. Of course, the uncertainty principle is there as well, but I'm not going to talk about that. And some letters are also longer in sound, like oo, for instance, here, or but they have the tendency to have, or a even, they have a tendency to have a continuation where the basic frequency, which is there, is repeated. There are no irregularities in there. There's no attention to irregularities. So they're all quite steady and try to remain steady. The next level of understanding and triggering sounds, actually, the next one, so the next level, like for instance, we need the letter E or O. There will be a certain idea of, no, there is a time aspect involved. In O, something is opening up, so you see a certain evolution. Also in A, there will be a certain evolution. In all these sounds will be a certain evolution. So there will be at least the need of 2 time moments where you can see the difference. You don't have that in 1 point anymore, so you need 2 points. We hear that, and that's the way how we associate them also, if we would translate them into a visual thing, or into just understanding them, or associating them with words. We deal with these aspects. We're not conscious about them, so it's new for most people. Let's say 99%, or more than 99% of people, they have no clue that we do that. Would we do that? And the last couple of options are really all these sounds, which are almost like continuously, where you don't see the beginning or ending, but we want, so it gives us more the attention of, we have to pay extra attention, because we do not know the beginning or the ending. We don't see, okay, there it starts, here it ends. It's no longer clear, so we're going to pay attention to what kind of influences it gives, or to the frame of what are we talking about actually. And so we will give the example with eat. Of course, we will have this E sound in the beginning. So we're going to pay attention to what we hear. And what we hear is basically all these high frequencies, irregular frequencies with no beginning and no ending. At least that's what, not with the frequencies. It's not very clear in this where it will go to. but at least we know the length of how long it takes. E, in a certain way, there's a start and an ending. That's already somewhat clear. So we could actually try to find out, so what are we really focusing upon it in this case? And that's the association that you get with E. So it's disorientating a bit. All these sounds are disorientating a bit. And they look for a way to concentrate better on the subject. So with E, it will focus upon, okay, now we need a frame of time and space. We don't know, so what are we really talking about? But there should be a beginning and ending. And there should be a place to focus upon. But it will be somewhere where it works. And there you have to look for. That's the association that you will get with this E. There's an application of a definition somewhere. So in between this whole zone of from me to you to and back to me, so me as a speaker and interpreter, you as the receiver all of the different position, and back to me or to the one who is conceiving all of it and has to adapt actually to the full reality of it as the way how everybody adapt. It's all in this whole range. That's the whole E position. So we have this question mark with E, and that's what also is needed to give context. Also, how does that work? We look for this. We look with this attention. Where do we have to look for? In this case, the speaker will give attention to a certain thing, or it will give some it will be a bit suggestive. It will be there will be a certain focus given where to focus upon, and this focus will be in looking for what's the right timing and what's the right spatial reference or object, what is in it. And in this case we have to look for the time aspect and for the space aspect, which has also description, with not just with oral thing but also with the word how it has been written, with a bit more hints where to look at, and it gives us the order of E and A. E is from the second category in the middle of it, so it is about timing. So it also is about what is really changing. It gives you the trigger point. Look for what is really changing. What is changing in movement? What is the movement that you see? Go to that movement and go and give attention to that movement. The letters with A say, just look in space. What is our central point of focus? And in this case, our central focus point of where do we see also an object of change. And you see it already. What we see there is when someone is eating, you can have the food on the plate, but what we are going to eat is moving up to our mouth, and we make with our arm we make a movement from down to up and stick it into our mouth. That's the action point, the activity of eating, and we see that actually. That's the first thing we notice, and that what we first notice is actually just like the order of letters E and A. We first notice a change in movement, which is also on the level of timing there with the E. It is change itself. There is a change. I see a move, and which move? It's the move up with the letter T. All the letters also have a horizontal, vertical, and diagonal sense in the background, and the sense of the first level is about that's my focus. There I can find my focus. With the letter A, it will be there will be the difference where there I can find the difference of what happened, where the change is also in the vertical sense. But in time's context alone, it's actually going from one time to another time aspect, so from before and after, and I go to the moment where I see something change in the vertical sense, in that direction. And the letter T adds actually also an extra emphasis to the direction. It's also upwards in my vision. From the level of space, because I have to look for the timing, so which is from one timing to another, and go to where the thing has changed, where the thing has moved, so I'm going to have that attention. Also have to look at space according to the letter description, and the letter A is then the next one. And letter A will focus, of course, to the object of notice, which I will describe later, but together in the full context of what I have, so from the space and the time, and within the full context, I see that I have just a move up to my mouth, and that's actually basically the description of the focus that I'm looking for of eat. But I will say a little bit more, so because what I read is also important, and the E and A, I haven't explained actually the letter A well enough, so I will do that a little bit better. So what is actually the letter A? And that's because that's different kind of frequency, and we deal with these frequencies differently. And how do we deal with that? With the E, it was these sounds which gave us the attention, like, okay, where we do have attention to look for the context. In A, it's not like that. It's like, okay, we know immediately where we want to start from. And that's always about what is before us in space. So we have a middle point in which we're going to define it, and the letter A is just like under the figure here. We have some starting point somewhere where we can start from, where we can start to figure out what it is that we are focusing upon. So in a horizontal way, it means that if you have a frequency on A, it always has the same frequency, and it also has this number one, like here's the number one, here it is, here it is, here it is, here it is, and it can be continuously also within the same frequency of 1 megahertz as well. So then you have an idea where to start from. You make a choice where to start from, and then from there onwards you can learn how the thing is experienced from that point onwards. And then if you discover the thing around a middle, you will have a certain idea after a while. You reveal and will discover all its limits of that viewpoint. Like a perspective also, like you can choose a point in space anywhere, and this will also give you a certain perspective depending on where you take this starting point. So even your or my starting point starts from somewhere else, but they all go towards the same sort of perspective. But it's always about these things that are before you. So when I go back to my figure where I check what I'm eating, I also will have this space before me, and I have it, and I have my focus towards the middle point of what I'm focusing upon, which for the A, or the object, is the first object of my plate, what the food which is on my plate. But I'm not talking about the food. I'm going to talk about what is going on. What do I do with this food, which I will eat, of course. What will I do? Of course, this point of A will go up, and I will go up, and that is this dependency to the movement that I already described before, towards the changing or moving up of the focus that I was talking about. And that's basically how this system works, why it works, and that's the same thing as what we hear, as what we automatically associate with certain directions, trigger points of directions. And that's the way how it works. So that's my context that I didn't mention before explaining how we see eat, for instance, or drink. I should have given that, of course. Sorry for that. That is at the third part, but you still have it. So yeah, that means that now I hope this is more clear where these ideas come from, where these conclusions come from. They're built up logically with a foundation, and I have checked this foundation in many ways, geometrically, as forms, And now I'm making videos just like how well can I do this in a practical way? What's the most practical way how to interpret this foundation? That's why my videos are meant for, but of course also to introduce this theory into the world. So just give me an opinion if you would like, no matter what you think about it, but opinions of it on its own are not really something that can contribute anything. If you have a question, if you have if something is unclear, tell all these things to me. That doesn't matter, so that I can learn from it, and also what you already could figure out or whatever it is, just tell me. It could all be very interesting to share some ideas. Thanks again for watching. Bye bye.